By show of hands, is anybody familiar with the 4 stages of competency? Perfect. I learned about this a few years ago and thought that it would be a good thing to share with y'all. And I'm going to do so through the lens of my journey from sickness to health. The first stage is unconscious incompetence. Like David has told us, you don't know what you don't know. Unconscious incompetence means there's some kind of skill or task that you're not even familiar with, don't know how to go about doing it, don't recognize the deficiency in yourself. So imagine yourself waking up surrounded by fog. You can't even see your feet, so you remain stuck. Many years ago, I was given a diagnosis of a autoimmune disease that disrupted my music career and threatened my life. I remember sitting in my reverse isolation hospital room thinking, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why won't any of the medicine work? By asking all those disempowering questions, I remained stuck in victimhood, stuck in sickness, stuck in unconscious incompetence. So I continued to put all my faith in the doctors to fix me and took no responsibility for my own health. The second stage, conscious incompetence. Now you're familiar with the value of a skill, but don't know how to go about achieving it. And now it's like the fog is beginning to lift just a little bit. You can see there's a path, but aren't sure it's really going in the right direction. About a decade into my diagnosis and innumerable failed medical interventions, my partner began to experiment with eliminating gluten from her diet, encouraged me to do the same. But being a stubborn Italian, I was more than a little resistant to give up my pasta and pizza. Well, she's a doggedly determined individual, so for no other reason but to appease her, I was like, all right, I'll look into this gluten stuff. I found an online health summit that was getting ready to start, featuring speakers talking about a whole variety of health building properties. It featured an expert talking about the effects of gluten on autoimmune conditions, and that got my attention. So I tuned in and ended up voraciously consuming all the many hours of content that summit had to offer. Bing! I had my light bulb moment. I was not a victim of fate. There was hope. I had agency. I learned if I could change my behavior, I could change my outcome. But holy shit, I was completely overwhelmed with all the information I just took in. It's like I tried to take a sip of water, but from a fire hose. And I was drowning in conscious incompetence. I knew all that I didn't know. The third stage is where the rubber really hits the road, conscious competence. You're familiar with the skill and you're practicing it, but it takes intense willpower and concentration to execute. The fog's really burning off now. You can clearly see the path, but it leads to the base of a mountain. So you begin to climb. Shortly after my light bulb moment, I was booked at a gig. After sound check, the band returned to the backstage area and found me eating a kale salad. They were more than a little confused because a week before this, I literally would not have been able to identify kale. So they scarfed down their pizza and beer and then had a good laugh at my expense as I chewed and chewed for what felt like an eternity, trying to choke down this bland bowl of fibrous weeds. I've since learned better ways to prepare kale. But I persisted and struggled with willpower, trying to make these changes. I knew they would help, but it wasn't easy. The fourth stage, the Holy Grail, unconscious competence. You've now practiced the skill to the point where it becomes second nature and it's easy to perform. The fog is completely lifted now. You've made it to the summit of the mountain and can take in the view. I used to stop at the grocery store on my drive home from work and get donuts to just munch on. Well, now I knew if I wanted to regain my health, donuts were not on the diet. So anytime I had to go to the grocery store, I'd psych myself up. Gotta get donuts. But then those sliding glass doors would part and the smell of donuts would waft out to me. And it took a Herculean effort to get in and out of the store and resist that temptation. Some days I failed. Some weeks I failed more than I succeeded. One day I arrived home and was putting groceries away, and I realized, holy crap, I was at the grocery store and didn't even think about donuts. Hallelujah, I once was lost. Now I am found in the land of unconscious competence. It no longer took willpower. I had assimilated these new habits and was a changed man. And because of these changes, I was able to get off of all the medicine and regain my health and vitality. I encourage you all to think of a skill or a task that you're working on or would like to, and think about it through the lens of these 4 stages of competency. It might just give you self-compassion and grace to understand that you're on a journey. It won't be easy, but if you persist, one day you too will be at the summit of your mountain.